Hello again. We're back doing the deadbolt install of the Nest Yale lock. It's a pretty easy install. If you notice, I already went ahead and put in the actual latch that goes into the door. The reason I did this, I wanted to show you a little bit of a difference. I mentioned in the other video that we were going to talk about how to reinforce the door. And it's pretty hard to see right here since it's white on white, but we have one of these items around the deadbolt. This one's gonna go around the handle portion of it. Essentially just goes right on the door, and then you use screws to secure it in so it keeps the door here from flexing. When you close it, there's about an inch of material right there that is not very noticeable from the inside or the outside. You notice we already have it painted to match the door color. So that's a pretty big thing that can help as somebody were to try to kick the door. It would reinforce the area around the doorknobs and the latch where it's the weakest. That's usually where the door is going to give out, if it's going to give out. One other thing that we really recommend is using screws that are substantial. Don't use the screws that come with the hardware. The screws that come with the hardware are pretty short. I'll take them out of the door handle here in a moment. But we're using screws that are, if you can tell, they're about 3 inches long, substantially longer. If you look, they go that far into the door. That's a pretty good distance compared to what the door handle or the standard hardware that comes with it. That's what normally comes. Pretty significant difference. So if you look, this is the normal screw, and it would go in that far, which is, you can barely see it without my fingers in the way. So let me show you a difference. This is what comes with the hardware, and this is what I'm recommending putting into the door. By doing that, you're securing it farther into the door, and you're gonna actually have a lot more reinforcement where the hardware is gonna stay in place. You don't want the hardware to move and give and have any room for it to actually flex if the door ever gets kicked or hit. Now these screws, they're part of the Door Armor line of products. That's what the metal reinforcements are. We have some for the hinges and also for the door frame side. We'll use these screws for all of it. So it reinforces the entire frame, and again, it'll come in to the frame this way. That's a pretty good distance. If you notice, it's a pretty good distance all the way in, where it's going to secure everything into the door frame, which just makes it a much more secure door. So those are two things we definitely recommend: door armor and longer screws. If you don't want to put door armor on the door, you definitely don't have to, but the long screws are a necessity. If you don't put the long screws in, then you're essentially not securing the door to anything, or the hardware to anything, and definitely not securing it to the door frame, which is where your stability is really going to come from. So on to the Nest lock. I already have the latch put in place, and it pretty much comes in two pieces. You have the outside piece where your keypad is going to be, then the inside piece that operates everything, as well as the latch that, don't do that, as well as the latch that locks and unlocks, if you notice. One very interesting fact with this lock is it has an alarm with it. It's a tamper-proof alarm, which means if anybody tries to hit the door or pry the door, it actually starts beeping very loudly and alerts you through the Nest app and tells you somebody's tampering with the door. That's where it's key. You can really put them together with the doorbell. As you get an alert of some sort about the lock being tampered with, you can then look at the doorbell on the video and see if somebody's actively trying to get into your home or business. So we're going to do a very quick install of this. It's actually quite simple. You start off, obviously you take the wire out. I'm going to feed it through underneath the latch portion and hold it in place on the back side. Then you're going to take the bracket, it's the main bracket for the lock, and it has these pins that go through. It helps you line up. So you put the wire through, and it helps you line up everything into the door frame or into the door lock. That way you have a good balance of where it looks level and is not going to be crooked on the door for you. You then take these screws, attach it all the way through, which I'm going to work through here. So if I step in front of the camera, excuse me, definitely helps to be able to see what you're doing. So I try to adjust my drill to where it doesn't go a little bit too hard on the screws. I don't want to round them out. You can kind of hear it's jumping a little bit, but just like that. So we can finish it up with a hand tightening. All right, so it's nice and level all the way through the door. It's secured very well. Those two definitely do a good job of keeping it nice and tight onto the door. The next part's going to be installing the interior portion of it. This is pretty simple. I'm going to step across and show. Essentially, there's one little portion here where you plug the cable into. So you can plug the cable right into it. Just like so, quick and easy. And then you feed the cable under. There's a couple guide arms that you can feed it into to keep it behind everything and doesn't get in the way of what you're working on. So then you just feed it all back through, making sure the tumbler is aligned. So that's what, there we go. And just like that. And you have a couple smaller screws that attach that portion onto the door. All right, and there it's secure. So that's where we'll move on to the Nest app. They do a really good job, just like the doorbell, of actually making it a very simple install. So if you notice on my phone, they have a spot where you scan the QR code. The QR code on every device that Nest has, pretty open and simple. Right there, you just scan the QR code, and then it starts walking you through the process. So it's a quick and easy process. You choose the front door. We've already installed it. So once it's go ahead and install batteries, we'll grab those real quick. It does take 4 AA batteries. We had this on the last house for about a year, and it never and they never died on us. So it doesn't really take a whole bunch of, does not take a whole bunch of power. The next step is press and hold the button. All right, it's pulsing.
Start creating a master code. It's 4 to 8 digits long. Then press the check to continue.
So you're creating a code that's 4 to 8 digits long that you're able to use as the master code. And then hit the check mark on the front of it. No, I'm not going to tell you what the code is. I don't want you coming into my house. Nice try, though.
Make sure the door is closed. Then press the check to continue.
So it says close the door, hit next to continue. We actually have to do this outside, so we're going to move real quick. Excuse me, Ava. All right. All right. So it says, well, let's try that one more time.
Press the Yale logo to finish installing your next. Make sure the door is closed. Then press the check to continue.
Door's closed. Press the check to continue.
Checking the lock.
It goes through
Installation
a
is
troubleshooting.
Your lock is ready to be added to your Nest account.
Obviously, Heather's on the doorbell cam. One great thing about the doorbell cam, it has a microphone. She can hear everything that's going on and video bomb via video onto our video. And see what we're doing. Now we'll move back inside. It calibrated, checked if the deadbolt was aligned appropriately, which it is. And then we're going to press and hold. So it says it's ready. Just add the Nest app, or use the Nest app to put everything on the phone. All right, it's connecting. One mistake I made with the doorbell, if you remember, I had a little bit of technical difficulties trying to get it to actually all connect. My phone wasn't close enough to the doorbell itself for it to actually register it. They say to keep it within about a foot of it so it's able to connect everything, because it is Wi-Fi and Bluetooth to get everything set up, because then it all links it to the Nest account where you can create a home account. So it says it's finishing up, adding it to the Nest account. That way the one app centrally locates everything. Added to your Nest account. So it's literally that simple. It says using your Nest passcode, you can use the existing one. Then you can change the passcode. You can create guest passcodes at a schedule where essentially there's a time frame or a couple days that say your in-laws are coming to visit you. And honestly, love in-laws for what they are, but you don't want them always having access to your house, right? So you can change the passcode, create it for a schedule. Then if they use it, they come into the house and use it, it'll actually register through the app and show you who's using the code, when they used it, and that way you know exactly who's coming into the home. It also allows several others. Everybody gets a unique passcode. It walks you through that process, and it's added to my Nest account. So it's literally that easy. Now the deadbolt's on there. You can go through, and on the app, it has a list of all the products we have. Obviously, you see the doorbell camera right here where it's showing the front door. It's pretty neat. You can go into, sorry, I hit the alarm button. Go into the front door. I'm trying to show you how well it locks, but front door. So it shows that it's unlocked right now. You can hold it, and if you heard it, it locks the door. So if you think you forgot to lock the door, which happens to all of us, or say you're coming home with groceries and your hands are about to be full and you want to unlock the door before you actually come up to the door while you're carrying stuff, you hold it again, and as you heard, it'll unlock. So super simple, very cool. It's great because it also has a timer where after 10, 30, or 60 seconds, it'll automatically lock. Just part of the settings, you can make sure it'll automatically lock in case you go inside and it'll lock right behind you as you close the door. That's a great tool because if you forget to lock the door because your hands are full, you don't want somebody walking in the door behind you as an unwelcome guest. So just a couple quick tips that we ran over. If you have any questions about install or you want us to come out and show you how to install appropriately, just give us a shout, and I look forward to talking to y'all soon. I hope y'all enjoyed.